We just had a couple real weird things happen. Number one, we had the Philly Karen, just swiped a baseball away from a 10-year-old kid right under the nose of his pansy dad. And then we got the other situation, the really horrible situation with Arina, the 23-year-old immigrant from Ukraine looking for a better, safer life in America, butchered by a psycho on a public train. It's weird that both of these things happen so close together, and there's a common thread with them. I haven't heard anybody notice that, but there is. They've got a common thread. So that's why we're going to talk about it on What They Don't Say. Welcome back. I promised right from the start that we would always talk about what they don't say. And there's a lot going on with both of these stories that should be said that hasn't been. And I've had some social media discussion about this. Most people seem to get it, but there are actually people out there who disagree and disagree vehemently. So let's get into this a little bit. Okay, I am your host, Fred Lynn, and I've gotten myself in some hot water with people before, but you know, important topics are always controversial. That's what makes them important. You got to sort out the details. So let's start with this guy with this kid at this baseball game. It was a kid's 10th birthday. He would have remembered it his entire life as a very special evening. His dad would have got him that ball and let him keep it. Everything was going fine. And then this crazy old bat comes running over. And I hadn't noticed in the early pictures, but she actually laid her hands on the dad. She grabbed a hold of the guy. And the guy was sitting there hugging his kid. But she was basically just a bully. Yeah, she was a psycho, Karen, and everything else you want to call them. All my life, we've called them bullies. And she didn't have anything to back it up with. I mean, what was she going to do? Flog the guy? But this guy took the ball from his kid and handed it to her. And at that moment, I just wanted to bitch slap that dad. It's like, what kind of cowardly fool would do that, would take it from the kid after such a high moment in his life and show the kid, this is how you handle bullies, son. You give them whatever they want, because that mean little woman was screaming at me. I had to make her stop, for the love of God. She was going to scream. I was so disgusted. Anyway, this dad, when that woman comes over, the look of fear in his eyes is just embarrassing. I can see being shocked, okay? I'll give the guy that. No, who's expecting that? You're having a nice night at the ball game, enjoying a little Americana with the kid. Then this psycho woman comes running over. That's when you start laughing at her and tell the old biddy, too bad, now get lost. I'm not putting up with you. I'll call security on your psycho ass, okay? I'm not putting up with it. Get lost, you crazy old bat. But no, this guy had a look on his face like, it's like Jesse James just came in to rob his train car. And he's sitting there, oh my God, no, I'm just a reporter from New York going out west. These horrible ruffians, they'll kill me. That's what the guy looked like. And the kid had a look on his face that was pretty casual. The kid was taking it in stride. It's like, oh, lady, you just pissed my dad off. Well, he didn't know his dad very well. You know, they haven't even said anything about the mom. I wouldn't be surprised to find out that this dad is the mom in a gay couple. I mean, that's not offensive anymore for me to say that, right? Because that's so normal. I see it on all the medication commercials on TV. It must be a normal thing, especially out there. But this guy did not show his kid how you confront a bully. He did not show how you handle confrontations. People are saying, well, he de-escalated. Oh, yeah, that's what you call when two armies get together. and one of them throws their guns down and runs away, that's de-escalation, right? No, there's no honor in de-escalating when you just give in to the person that's in the wrong. That's nothing honorable. He didn't teach that kid anything that kid needed to know. The only thing that kid needed to know was dad is a limp wrist. Thank God the baseball team stepped up. They probably thought, I can't believe that guy did that. We got to do something for this kid because his dad sure didn't. I'll tell you, it's just disgusting. If anybody would have tried that with one of my kids, they'd have never gotten away with it. It's kind of funny. They're trying to identify this woman, and then first they gave the wrong identity. The woman had to defend herself, proved right away it wasn't her. And then another one came up, and it looks like she's probably the right one, except they're saying that she worked in some school district and that she lost her job. Well, that's proven to not be true. And it's funny because the school district that she was supposed to be working for issued a statement saying, "No, that isn't her. What we don't have an employee by that name. No, whoever you're thinking of, it's not her. We don't know who she is. Besides, if one of our employees was out there, they'd have caught the ball with one hand." Great answer. Great answer. So evidently, we don't really know for sure who it is yet. I think we do, but that doesn't even really matter because I hope her life is destroyed. That is one psycho woman. She ran around cussing out some other people. There was another guy that was mocking her, and she went back and ripped into him. Anyway, if it would have been the dad, he'd have probably bought her lunch. "Oh yeah, beat me up some more, woman. What else can I do? Just quit, please." Ah, pansy. God, that was disgusting. That poor kid. Boys, that is not how you handle a bully. You never give them what they want. Never, ever, ever. A little kid, you're not wise enough to know. Dad's been around the block a few times, no matter how well he protects himself. I'm sure he's probably got hands like that woman. But he should have learned by now. Anyway, that husband of hers, he's been subject to this shit for a long time because the woman who would jump up, finger the whole crowd after doing something that brutal, she's a friggin' nut that's out of control. That guy is living with her. She's got a husband. Can you imagine the ride home with that wench after that? After she got booed by the country, and this guy, and now they're sitting in their house. I'm sure the shades are drawn, and this woman, she doesn't want the neighbors ratting her out, and this guy's trapped in the house with her. You know what? You deserve it, mister, if you're putting up with that crap. But I'm sorry for the kid that this is what the dad did when it was his moment to teach a kid a life lesson on how you handle a bully with some class and dignity. No, he just peed on himself and gave the little bully what she wanted. Don't do this. Teach your kids the proper way to handle a bully. Stand up to him firmly. You don't have to become violent, but stand your ground. Tell him to get lost. Especially in a situation like that where she didn't dare make a scene. And they do have security that watches for crap like that. But stand your ground for God's sake. Never give a bully what they want. People knew that when I was a kid and long before that. Hey, I'd like to remind you right now, I don't know if you're familiar with us, if you're new to us, but I'd appreciate it if you'd like and subscribe. We're a new channel. Moved everything over here from our old formats. This is just what we're focusing on because this is a lot of work. It really is. Anyway, appreciate you being here. If you want to help us grow, please hit like, subscribe, and most of all, the comments are really important too. Give us your feedback. Help us grow. Thanks. Moving on, we got this ugly situation with this pretty young kid from over there in Ukraine that tried to have a better life in America. While the judges have a habit of turning psychotic people loose on the street every chance they get, this guy that butchered her, he's a nut. I don't know. At what point are they so crazy you can't blame them? You got to blame the system that keeps turning them loose. because the warning signs have been there. Some people really don't have a grasp of what's going on. I've known some of those people. I've seen those people. They really don't know. They don't live in the reality that you and I do. Who knows what he was thinking? Nobody's heard or said. But the guy's had a lot of psychiatric problems before. His mom, back in I believe it was January, tried to get him committed to a psychiatric institution because she said he was nuts. For God's sakes, this is the system's fault. It's the judge's fault. He was released without bail in the intervening time. Released without bail. This is a dead girl, and her blood is on the hands of the judges. It's on the hands of the system. It's on the hands of the politicians who have negated the laws that used to bind these people to a protected status when they became dangerous. So don't tell me either one of these parties is getting it right, because it's not happening anywhere, and it needs to start happening. Especially now, these drugs we've got now, I don't know what these people are taking, but you watch them, they're all bent over. I heard that's a fentanyl thing. But these people, they're getting crazier, and they don't seem to be fixable. It used to be, like back in the 60s and 70s, people quit taking those drugs, and they were pretty normal people again most of the time. These people, these drugs are eating up something they need. And you wind up with these dangerous psychotic people like this. Maybe he'd have been crazy anyway. But he shouldn't have been loose. The sad thing is, and how this compares to the other story, they were both victims that didn't need to be victims. It was so painful watching. They've got the video. I'm not going to show the whole thing because everyone's already seen it, and it breaks my heart. I got 3 daughters. You know, the oldest one just turned 30, early 30s, and they're all right around that age, late 20s, early 30s. But when I was raising them, I was constantly on them about stranger danger. She didn't grow up, the victim, Marina, she grew up in Ukraine. She's used to a life of danger. She knows something about watching herself. But she was walking around that train with a casual sense of security, as if she was walking from the recliner to the couch in her own living room. And the safety of a secured room behind locked doors. I mean, she wasn't even looking around. This is every parent's nightmare. You watch what that girl did, and there is no way you can feel good about it. My kids grew up with the life lessons. They knew that I would never sit with my back to the door, which I do not do. You just learn you don't do that. You have to know what's around. I've seen these guys do it, and it's like, boy, you've lived a charmed life if you think you're that safe all the time, that nothing bad can ever happen. Bad things do happen. God bless you if you're ready, and it never occurs. But don't go through life not being ready. For God's sakes. You know, I don't know if people don't watch the news, don't read the news, don't keep up. One of the most common things you hear in violent accounts is, well, gee, those things don't happen around here. Yeah, they happen around here. Yes, they do. I don't care where you are. They happen, okay? You just got to be on your toes. You don't have to go through life paranoid. Not at all. I'm sure not. I've gone into a lot of places I probably shouldn't have been at in the first place, but oh well, younger days and a good time, right? But you've got to be aware. I raised my kids out in the country because I didn't want them in the city schools with the city problems. You got the same problems out in the country, but you know where they're coming from, right? But I knew my kids weren't getting the kind of training, the life experience, the street smarts. So I would take them into the city. And I took them around the hood and showed them what it was like down there. They'd taken to places, taken to big events, because they needed that exposure, because they have to learn that while you're around to teach them. You don't raise them with a false sense of security and then turn them loose to find out on their own that they were wrong. A person has to be aware of their surroundings. Stranger danger. That girl, when she stepped through those doors and looked around that train, she didn't know if there was 8 gang members down there that already had control of that car. You have to know your surroundings. You have to be situationally aware. I encourage everybody to do this. I don't care how old you are. I don't care if you're a badass dude all by yourself. Although most of those guys would have the brains to do it. This girl could have prevented it with a few routine precautions. You don't sit with your back to a total stranger when it's avoidable. Now, in a crowded train, you have to, but that's not as likely to happen in a crowded train. I've heard people say, well, he killed her anyway. It's like, no, he wouldn't have. She was a victim of opportunity. She created that opportunity. She never even glanced at the guy. You saw that. She walked in, had her nose in her phone, sat down in the closest chair, and never looked around the car for a moment. I wouldn't do that. I'm 6'3", 225 pounds. I'm in pretty good shape, and I got a lot of history. Okay, I can take care of myself, and I would not do what that little skinny girl did. You just don't do that. I would not be happy living life as a small person, a little female, or somebody that isn't very physically capable, because you are vulnerable, and you really got to watch it closer than everybody else. When they start looking for a victim, they aren't looking for people like me. They're looking for people like this girl. It's a lot different world for people like that than it is for somebody like me. They've got to be on their toes all the time, and this kid wasn't even looking around. It's just heartbreaking. The best that can come out of this is someone else sees what happened and gets the message, and the message saves another life. I mean, for God's sakes, we got to get some kind of good out of this. This is so horrible. It's just so heartbreaking to see that kid. She was just like the other American kids, with all of her phony poses for Instagram or TikTok or whatever she was doing, how they fix themselves up all phony, and everyone knows it, but it's a game they play, right? And it's a fad they're going through, it's harmless. Let them do it. They're having their fun. And she had a right to have some more of that fun. There was absolutely no reason that girl is gone today. The judge should have never let the guy out. 14 arrests. I don't know how many of them were convictions, but several of them were felonies. He's been charged with attempted murder, assault with a dangerous weapon, a deadly weapon. My God. And they know he's psychotic, and they turn him loose. He's a violent psychotic that uses weapons on strangers, and they turn him loose. And he kills somebody. This blood is on the hands of the court, that judge in particular, and the system. I think judges should lose their damn jobs when these things happen with somebody they turn loose. I really do. How come there's no accountability for these judges? Because a lot of the same judges are the ones that kick out these people over and over and over again. They're contributing to the danger of our society by leaving the predators loose. That pretty little girl's dead for no reason. This is bullshit. But somebody should have taught her stranger danger. I still talk to my kids about it, and they're around 30. I tell them, you got to remember, I've got one that's riding a bike now, loves riding her bike. And she's a good looking kid, and it's like, my God, no, don't do this. But she's going to, and I'm not going to tell her not to. But I want her armed. I don't like that she does it by herself. I tell her, don't take the same route every time. Don't go at the same time of day every time. You can't make yourself predictable. But when you're in a situation, you got to be aware of your surroundings. It's very important. I don't care who you are, how tough you think you are, how weak you know you are. You've got to be situationally aware. Know who is around you. Think accordingly. Act accordingly. If there's something that doesn't look right, when you get ready to step on that car, if something doesn't look right, step back, wait for the next one. It's better to be a little late than to be dead. The other people on that car all survived because none of them sat down in front of that guy. There were other empty seats. The girl could have taken one of those other empty seats. Man, it's so heartbreaking. That guy just sat there, and it was like I said, a victim of opportunity. It's just heartbreaking. We got two victims. Neither one of them should have been a victim of the event that put them in the news. Neither one of them should have been. We got to make some changes, people. We got to make some changes with these court systems. And I'll tell you what, if you're a pansy dad, fix yourself. I don't know, whatever's wrong with this guy. Maybe he's just surprised. We got to start holding some of these judges accountable. We've all been saying this for a long time. Nobody does it. You know, we got the Republicans and the demon rats. Nobody fixes anything. Trump's getting a few things fixed with damn near little help from any of them. But this has got to stop at turning these dangerous psychotic people loose. We got to get this right, my friends. If we do, then maybe God will continue to bless this great country of ours. Thanks for listening.